Shaw and Partners Audi is the only one to pinch a race win from the Arise Racing Ferrari so far this year. Audi in the box seat to do it again. Never count out the Mercedes AMGs in this field either. And what can Lamborghini deliver? It's round 3, GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS, a flying start from the second row of the grid. Elliott Shute squeezed, and there's contact into Rosser, and it fires miles around as well. And for the second year in a row, we've had turn 1 dramas at Queensland Raceway. They're both going to get away with this, I think. Big drama though. Contact, the Ferrari was the meat and the Audi sandwich, and it spilled all over the floor. Schumacher leads them down towards turn 3. I think Sergio Perez has got himself up the order, and Miles's car is badly damaged. The left rear corner, lots of damage there. It's going to have to be a safety car for sure, and we do go safety car for the first time.
Yeah, that's plucked the left rear out of that thing. So that was sort of 3 into 1 there, all vying for the same position. And Elliott Shute, it looked like he got either an incredible start or, you know, whether he went just before the lights. It was hard to tell, or he just got amazing traction off the start, and he went in between Miles and Rosser there on the start, and then it was just a case of, yeah, like the meat and the sandwich, nowhere to go. And for a minute there, I thought Rosser might have headed into that outside concrete wall, so thankfully not more damage. But Elliott Shute is still showing in 3rd position, so I don't think he's actually lost out there. But yeah, race control is definitely going to have a look at that and see whether that's a racing incident or if that could have been avoided.
Brad Schumacher leads the race. Okay, from pole, Sergio Perez up to 2nd place. The guy of Valmont Racing Mercedes AMG. Shute 3rd, Talbot up a couple of spots to 4th. Renee Gracie leads the AM class in 5th. And damage to the left rear corner on the Dale ITM Audi R8. Tim Miles out of the race.
And they were, coming into this race, they were 4th in the standings. So that's going to be a massive blow for them as well, because that's not a down the back finishing order, that's a DNF, which means 0 points. So that's really going to hurt them a lot. They didn't even get to turn 1, but thankfully everyone else managed to avoid it, as Mark Rosser in the background has now come into pit lane. So here's a replay heading down to turn 1, and it's just a case of, yeah, 3 cars all going for the 1 position, and Rosser's actually done a really good job there not to, like we said, end up in that outside wall, and Tim Miles just really an innocent passenger, because what happened was Rosser came across to the right, then you had Shute in the middle, really nowhere to go, and then Miles on the inside. So I don't really know how you sort of put one onto the other.
Some amazing evasive driving going on. So we're behind the control of the BMW M safety car here at Queensland Raceway. Brad Schumacher leads Perez and Shute in the Pro Am class, and Renee Gracie leads the way in Am. So yeah, wow, lots to unpick from all of that, and a shame that we don't get to see Tim Miles and we don't get to see Brendan Leach in this race, because they are worthy of the price of admission and a ticket to get into Queensland Raceway. Rusty?
Entering the final corner, just waiting for some green flags before he can go down on the loud pedal. And like you said, Sergio Perez up to 2nd, so that's been a great avoidance on the opening first corner there, as we're underway finally for GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Everyone, I think, going to be safely through turn 1 on this occasion.
The job now is for Perez to stay with Schumacher. So you touched on the fact that there's an extra 5 seconds of pit stop time for the Kelso Electrical Audi as a result of finishing 3rd in the most recent race at Sydney Motorsport Park. No pit stop time for Sergio Perez and George King in the 55 Gaia Valmont Racing Audi. So if they can stay within 5 seconds of the leader after the pit stops, they're going to be in really, really good shape. The same story is for Liam Talbot and Declan Fraser in the Valente Rosso Aston Martin. That's the car 2nd in shot, chasing the Ferrari down into turn 4. They've got no pit stop time. They're in good shape as well.
And he started in 8th as well. So not only did Sergio Perez have a cracking start, but so did Liam Talbot. He avoided the carnage. He's up into the top 4 with, like you said, the car in front of him with that 15-second penalty, as he now looks down the inside of Elliott Shute. Elliott Shute gives him plenty of space there, as there's a little bit of damage on that front left splitter of the Ferrari. So I'd say that's a lingering effect or that's lingering damage, I should say, from that turn 1 contact. And there's the shot, unfortunately, of that Dale ITM Audi, the left rear, with significant damage. So I'm sure that's something they'll be able to get repaired for tomorrow. But for today, unfortunately, that is them out of action. But that number 1, Aston Martin, that's got plenty of pace in these early stages of the race.
And word from race control, no further action on that start line incident involving the Ferrari and the 2 Audis. So racing incident being judged by Motorsport Australia Race Control.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because at the end of the day, Ross is on the outside of all of that. As he's moved over and seen the car next to him, he wouldn't know that there was another car on the inside of that. So that generally the way that it works in race control is that a penalty is dished out if someone is wholly to blame. And in this instance, no, there's not one driver that's wholly to blame. So you can't really dish out a penalty to someone. And unfortunately, as the old saying goes, Richard, that's racing. And it's just hasn't worked out, unfortunately, for Miles or for Rosser. But at least for the 268 Audi, they're still in the race. They're back into the top 10 at least. And Ross is now hunting down Donaldson.
And Alex Peroni's been super quick, the young Tasmanian in that car, every session so far. They came and tested here as well, made the trip up from Adelaide to test before the weekend. So they felt like they were in pretty good shape for Team BRM and the ACM Finance squad. They're working really hard to try and add a second car to that program at some point if they can, because that will help the program they've got going already, having 2 cars from an information point of view. So that'd be really cool to see another team expand in GT racing in this part of the world. Liam Talbot is flying. He has got genuine pace here in the Aston Martin Vantage. So Astons have won back in the day of Australian GT, but since it's become GT World Challenge and the full global set of regulations in 2021, and Aston Martin is yet to win a race in the category. I wonder if today could be the day. They are in decent shape. They're certainly going to be in the mix, and you know that when Declan Fraser gets behind the wheel, it's going to go pretty rapidly at the front of the field.
Well, the 55 Mercedes of Perez at the moment is the cork in the bottle, if you like, because he's the head of the train for Talbot, Chute and Lucchini. And Lucchini's gone along quite nicely as well. And Ojeda will take over that car once the CPS window opens. Renee Gracie leading the AM class. She's in 6th outright. But Brad Schumacher doing a great job out in front, and he's got the gap out to about 3 seconds. So if he can stretch that lead to 5 seconds or more, that's going to really help, because they do have that extra 5 seconds in the pit lane. So this battle, it looks like Talbot's made a mistake, because now Elliott Chute has gotten past Talbot. So something's obviously happened down at turn number 3, whether Perez went and defensive or not, but looks like either Liam Talbot's made an error, because Elliott Chute's just taken back that position for 3rd. So that's undone all that hard work that Liam Talbot did to gain that position. And now Chute covers into turn number 6. So he's going to say, hey, I left the door open for you once. I'm not going to do it again. And we spoke earlier about box office potential from some of the drivers in this field. The car that's staying very much in the mix at the moment is the 66 Mercedes AMG GT3, the realtor car of Paul Lucchini. And Jaden Ojeda is behind the wheel in the second half of this race. Oh, he's just gone long. He's just overshot and just made a mistake into turn 3, and through goes Elliott Chute. So back into the top 3, and yeah, that's going to be pretty costly, because all that work that Chute did, he was right on the heels of Sergio Perez, and unfortunately now he's got to have to pass Elliott Chute again. Can't pass Adrian Dietz, and so there's clearly some issue there with the 268 Audi, as this battle still going on between Perez, Chute and Talbot. As we know, Talbot lost that position to Chute after that small mistake down at turn 3, running wide. Managed to still keep it on the track. He's still applying a lot of pressure to that Arise Ferrari. And if he can get through on Elliott Chute, his next task will be trying to get past Perez, because if they want to win this race, he's going to have to do the hard yards out on the track.
Serge is doing an awesome job. What an opening lap, and did a brilliant job negating all of the drama in front of him, getting around it, ducking and weaving, and the guy Valmont Racing Mercedes. He's spent a lot of time in Audi material in GT racing, has Sergio. Originally came out of one make Porsches with his good buddy Marcel Zalua, who you raced with, and it was quite cool to see the two Valmont cars running nose to tail at Sydney Motorsport Park for a little while there, which was good fun. Looks like it might be day done for BRM and the ACMF Audi with Mark Rosser in the lane. I saw Shane Wilmot, who's the crew chief down there, looking around that car. So there's clearly some additional damage that perhaps wasn't apparent from the outset that's caused that car to be retired from the race. What a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame for them. And again, lots of vital points gone missing. However, the silver lining, if you like, is that they will be starting on the front row again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So thankfully they have that second qualifying, or the first qualifying of the day. That sets the grid for race 2. And you know what's interesting, I was going to say, between Talbot and Chute, is that as he goes for the move now on Chute, it was turn 6 last time and it's turn 3 this time. So on lap number 14, Liam Talbot gets the move done finally on Elliott Chute. Hopefully he can make it stick now on his old team, Arise Racing. And now it's about trying to get up to the back of and hopefully past Sergio Perez for second. Get that gap down to under 5 seconds on Brad Schumacher.
It just keeps them in the game for the back half of the race when Declan Fraser takes over car number 1. Reigning champion in GT World Challenge, and last year was teammate with Elliott Chute. Was in the sister car, Talbot driving with Chaz Mostert. Had a remarkable season. Switch of teams, a change of environment was the order of the day in the off-season, and a quite last-minute deal to put that program together with Valente Rosso and get the Aston Martin on track and racing this year in partnership with Declan Fraser and that team. So they're in a good position. The race still very much wide open. Seven seconds is the margin for the race lead. GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS here at Queensland Raceway. The GT Festival, thanks to EVENTelec this weekend. Schumacher leads by 7 seconds in the Audi R8. Sergio Perez is second in the Gaia Valmont Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. Liam Talbot is third in the Valente Rosso Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage GT3. And then it's Elliott Chute next in the Ferrari. So 4 different teams and brands in the top 4 positions, as always, in this incredibly diverse and highly competitive GT World Challenge field. We're racing our way towards the pit stop. Thomas Randall can't turn the weather app off. We're looking forward to seeing how this all plays out as we watch Gary Higgin in the trophy class, previous gen or earlier specification Audi R8 running around in 11th position outright, leading the class over Nathan Holstead there in the Porsche, who's second in the trophy class. Let's go back to the lane where Cameron van den Dungen is in the thick of the action. It's the joy of the way these weekends work out. That was really close with Talbot sweeping across the front of Halstead's Porsche at turn 1. The pit stop window open for Amber Trophy car, so he'll be in the lane shortly anyway. That's the joy of the way these weekends work out, Thomas, is that you get another go tomorrow, and that car, as you said earlier, will start on the front row of the grid thanks to Alex Peroni's qualifying job. Well, yeah. Thanks to Mark Ross's qualifying job, isn't it?
Well, both, yeah. They both did a cracking job, and we know that car's got plenty of pace. It's just, it's unfortunately a case of not capitalising on that pace, and it was a very similar story for that team at Phillip Island. They had heaps of speed, but it was a few pit stop infringements that caught them out there, and then they had the jump start in the second race with Alex Peroni. So those sort of penalties, you know, they're so costly. But unfortunately for today, it was that incident before they even got to turn 1 that's put them out of the race, and, you know, heaps of points that just go astray, if you like. So unfortunately for them, no points today, but like we touched on, tomorrow they'll be back at it from the front row and no compensation times. That's the silver lining there. So if they can just get through that first opening couple of laps, I think they'll be okay. And they were our Saturday race winner here last year, so we know they can get the job done. It's just motor racing's a tough game, isn't it, Kralsey? You know, there's so many things that have got to go right in motorsport, so many things that can go wrong. And a time when things can go wrong is during the pit stop. As you said, we've got our pit window open for Amber Trophy, and we've pretty much got them all in the lane. Gracie, Konduras, Donaldson, Halstead, and I think Higgin pitted the lap before. So as Talbot just has a massive tank slapper off the exit of turn 3. So if someone says he's not pushing, well, they're not watching this race, because he is trying to get as much as he can out of those Pirelli rear tyres. But you know what? Perez has been doing a cracking job so far.
Yeah, and he's keeping Talbot, the reigning champion, a couple of times over, pegged in this category. So doing a very nice job. 1 second the margin. Schumacher out in front, sets another quickest lap of the race. The margin out to about 8.5 seconds now over Perez. They're racing towards their pit stop. Adrian Dietz up to 7th place in the Lamborghini, so he's found some time. Stephen White in 6th place in the Ferrari will hand over to Aaron Love. And Paul Lucchitti's hanging on to the back of these guys. He's dropped about 6 seconds to the Arise Racing Ferrari, but the Realtor Merc will have Jaden Ojeda in it in the back half of this race.
Yeah, and he knows a thing or two about steering these Mercedes AMG GT3 cars. So, yeah, plenty of experience in Mercedes. And this weekend there were a few other events on around the world, but you know what? He's committed to the program with Paul Lucchitti and Tagani Motorsport. He's been in that fold for a while now. Very much settled in with the team based out of Wollongong, run by Nathan Tagani and the crew there. And they've got one of their cars currently in 2nd place with Sergio Perez, and that'll be taken over by George King once they head into the lane, which generally speaking, Crailsy, in the opening races of the weekend, these guys, they pit as soon as the pit window opens, and then we'll see tomorrow when the pro drivers are out there, they'll try and stretch it as long as possible before they put their bronze drivers in the cars.
And at a short lap, so they're currently doing 68.5 second laps at the moment, so a minute 8.6, the quickest lap of the race. A short lap like that, that could be 4 bonus laps you get in your pit stop window before you peel that car into pit lane, if you can time it right. At least 3. And at pro pace, that could be the difference between an overcut or an undercut against the guys you're racing. It all plays out in the teams. It's a tight window to work to, but there are ways you can play that game and use a little bit of strategy to try and get yourself some track position.
And the other thing is, because no one's ran on brand new slick tyres this weekend, will we see some different strategies when they come into the pit? Will people do left side tyres? Will anyone do all 4 tyres? Because it's kind of like greens galore at the moment, because everyone has been running wet tyres up to this point. So keep an eye on that, see whether or not they just keep the hot tyres on there, or whether Schumacher, Perez, Talbot, they might be complaining that the left sides are starting to go. It's generally the left front that does the brute, or the brute work around here, and that left rear gets a bit of a copping as well.
Change of the lead in the AM class. Theo Konduris has assumed point there after the pit stops. So the Pro-Am window open right now, by the way, so those leading cars can peel into the lane, and the first of them to do it will be Steve Wyatt in the 77 Arise Ferrari to hand over to Aaron Love. So they're the first into pit lane. Time that to perfection, that team. Right place, right time. This is the battle for the AM class lead. So Renee Gracie had 15 seconds extra mandatory pit stop time as a result of winning the last time out at Sydney Motorsport Park. So she was stationary for longer. It's 15 seconds plus the pit stop time, which here is 87 seconds, and that is from the control line in to the control line out. It includes the time you're stationary in the pit bay. And
with this lap being only 1 minute and 8 seconds, you can go a lap down essentially when you do that pit stop, because 87 seconds is 1 minute and 27 seconds, not including compensation time. As we see our leader of the race, top 2 are in the lane. Talbot has elected to stay out, and he will assume the race lead as Renee Gracie trying to go down the inside now of Konduris. Can't quite get it done. Konduris hanging tough around the outside there. This is a great battle for the AM class.
Theo was really deep. The Canberra and under brakes into turn 3 went a long way. Gracie got a great run out of turn 2, but the Merc better under brakes at 3 that time by and holds on to the lead. So this is for the AM class win. Arise, both cars in the lane, so there's a lap apart there. And have they overshot their marks?
Not only that, but it looked like one of the crew was going to bring a tyre into the lane before they were in their box. Sometimes you have to do what's called as a pushback, because it is so tight in the lane, and not until you do that pushback can you actually do work on the car. But it looked like they were getting ready to do some tyres on that thing, left-hand side tyres. So we'll see what happens here as they do the driver change. We've got some of the crew, got a gun on the left front there. It looks like they've abandoned, well, there's a Motorsport Australia official there as well, so I'm not really sure what's going on with this pit stop at the moment. yeah, that looked like they were going to do tyres on the left side. They've abandoned that. But yeah, Renee Gracie now has actually lost out, I think, as well to Curry. So she's gone from leading back to third in class.
Yeah, so this is going to be a battle all the way to the flag. We'll bring you up to speed on where the Pro-Am stuff lends out. So Schumacher, well, it'll be Brock Feeney now out of the lane. Liam Talbot yet to stop, is going longer in this one. And there's a battle. So the Ferrari squeaks out. Jackson Evans in front of Jaden Ojeda. That's Paul Stokel flying through to unlap himself. So the rejoin was properly close. Oh, that was very, very tight down at the Arise camp, right at pit exit, where understanding they've changed a left rear tyre on car 888. So that's Brock Feeney's car.
And a front left on the 26 Ferrari of Jackson Evans.
Okay, so the steer tyre at the front. That's interesting.
Now,
left-hand side does all the work at Queensland Raceway, remember, because there's 4 right-hand corners and only 2 of the left. And into the lane comes the leader, who's now a full lap in front, essentially, of Brock Feeney. Just getting reports that there could be a pit stop procedure breach for car 47, Superbarn Supermarkets Merc, Theo Konduras behind the wheel, and class leader. But let's follow this stop. Race leader in the lane.
Now we can see on the track George King going past, but remember, he's got to get that lap back, so they still have to go a full lap around because they do lose about a lap under these pit stops being an 87-second pit stop. So I think Feeney ideally should still be in the race lead. It's going to be close, I'd say, between Talbot and George King, or shall I say Declan Fraser, once he assumes the driving duties behind that number 1 Aston Martin.
So Feeney's jumped King, so that's been a positional change there. So King and Feeney looking good. So Brock, yeah, no, you're right. He hasn't done that. My mistake. So King was in behind, wasn't he, already? So it's Feeney on the rejoin that we're watching with Liam Talbot. Have they been able to eke out a little bit more time? Remember, they had a shorter pit stop in car number 1, so 5 seconds to the better, but the margin was 8. And there goes Declan Fraser out of the lane at 40 k's an hour. Here comes Brock Feeney at a greater rate of knots on the exit of the final corner.
It's going to be
this
close.
Is for the race lead, and it's going to be the Audi because Fraser now hits the de-restriction number. They've got a little bit of time back.
Well, they've jumped at the moment. I think they've jumped Perez here. They have. So they have gained here. They've jumped Sergio Perez and George King. So that's worked out really well for them. I mean, it was always going to be tough to beat Brock Feeney because that car had an 8-second lead. I still think they've actually gained on Brock Feeney.
No, they've definitely gained. It was 8 seconds before the stop. They had 5 up their sleeve before it, Cam. Last round at Sydney Motorsport Park and had an absolute shocker at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Failed to start either race on Saturday or Sunday after some damage to that car. So this is a good bounce back for them in a really competitive battle for the AM class. And this has been as close as Renee's been run all season in terms of that AM class leading fight. So the Audi still under pressure, less than a second between them in that battle for the leading class.
Yeah, that's a good battle with about 8 minutes to go. So I don't think that position or the leader that is all wrapped up just yet. So Curry still finding plenty of pace in that Mercedes-Benz, setting his fastest first sector of the race. And so is David Wall, as this is for position. George King suffering. Oh, man. Poor guy.
So he's sucking in the big ones now. Deep breaths, try and go, right, I've got to haul this 1,350 kilo Mercedes AMG with big, wide, sticky Pirelli tyres and all that weight over the front axle into a corner with downforce and everything around it, all the camber and caster they run on the front end of these cars. And Jackson Evans sails through and gets to 3rd position. So a decent recovery for our championship leaders.
Of not only how tough it is without power steering, but you struggle to push the car because if you have a moment and you have to counter steer or correct it, that's what's even harder to do when you have no power steering. So that's where you've got to think, you know what, I'm just going to pull it back a bit and make sure that I try and minimize any oversteer moments, because that's even harder to control when you've got 0 power steering.
Straight into the ice bath after this one, you'd think, for
well,
the
that's going to rain, isn't it?
Well, it's still quite warm, though. I don't think that'll help his recovery. George King will, it'll be an interesting night for him as he recovers to get set for another hour of racing, because you're always turning, you're always working here at Queensland Raceway. So this is a battle for 4th and 5th place. Yep. So cool to see Aaron Love back in the paddock. Bumped into him quickly this morning. Young guy, a tough little phase in his career in the supercar paddock. It's a piranha club there sometimes. It can be really, really difficult. But he just needed to get back into something, enjoy his motorsport again. He's so fast, so capable, and he's proved that this weekend being in this Ferrari. Filling in for big bro, Jordan Love, who's away racing in GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, in, I think they're Buriram this weekend, up in Thailand. So
it's in the Corvette.
Yeah, for the Johor Motor Racing team with Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, who's a former race and event winner here in GT World Challenge Australia. And Jeffrey, if you're watching, we'd certainly love to see JMR back in Australian soil at some point with some Corvettes in GT World Challenge Australia. So Aaron Love puts the pressure on. Meanwhile, Brock Feeney, with a minute to go on the clock, has 10.6 seconds. Looking for the second win of the season, and crucially, this was the one they needed. With the championship lead blowing out after 3 wins from 4 races for Arise Racing, this is the perfect return of serve from the Kelso Electrical Audi team.
Yeah, if it stays like this, they'll get about 13 points off 12 points on the number 26 Ferrari of Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute. At the moment, that car, the 26 car, has the fastest lap of the race. So that will get them a bonus point, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. But at the moment, it'd be 26 points for the race win.
You get 1 for pole.
Oh, 1 for pole,
yeah,
sorry.
Yep, 25 for a win. So
that all works helps. For Feeney.
Correct, absolutely. And for Brad Schumacher, who's looking to become the first driver to win Trophy, to win AM, and then win Pro-Am. Never been done. He's got 2 class wins. He wants to win this whole shindig outright. And he's got the best co-driver and the best team in the business to do it. Audi for their 30th victory in GT World Challenge Australia competition since 2001. No other brand has double figures. So they have been crushingly dominant. That era where Yasser Shahin and Garth Tander were driving together, they were crushing for so long. Liam Talbot had a lot of success in the Audis as well. And this has been a huge performance. Brock Feeney will start the final lap of the race with a big margin over Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucitti, who are going to end up with another podium finish, with a 3rd of their season. So another big haul of championship points for them. And what a good recovery from Jackson Evans. A drive-through penalty. They are going to score some championship points regardless. Minimise the damage. If you have dramas, it's all about points limitation, isn't it? Loss limitation in these races.
And this is going to be back-to-back wins for this car and for Brad Schumacher, and paired with the current Supercars championship leader, because he won with Will Brown last year, who was leading the championship in Supercars.
Nice work.
Now he'll be winning it with Brock Feeney, who is the current Supercars championship leader as well. So,
wow,
a couple of little fun facts there.
You're saying there's an omen. Does that mean Feeney goes on to win the Supercars? Who knows? But they're going to win this race. What a performance. Tactical, fast, clean, mistake-free. Got away with it at the start after that big moment. And a win for Audi. They're back on top after a Ferrari streak. Brock Feeney and Brad Schumacher win race 1 at Queensland Raceway. Big margin back. Here's the Realtor Mercedes AMG. Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucitti home in 2nd place.
Great drive from Jaden.
Really, as always, as we've come to expect for a Mercedes AMG junior driver. And then we wait for the Ferrari for Arise Racing for Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute. Survived a drive-through, and the championship leaders will minimise their points lost today with a podium finish.
Just in the background, looked like the battle was on between Declan Fraser and Aaron Love. That is still not done. 0.2 of a second between Fraser and Love. So let's see who comes out on top out of that battle, as we'll be seeing them coming around the final corner very shortly. Can Fraser hang on? He has managed to. So that'll be 4th place for them. Unfortunately, they also had to serve a drive-through penalty. So that's 4th for Talbot and Fraser. They move up from starting in 8th. And then Renee Gracie, I think she's just going to hang on to it.
So they're going down into turn 4.
Must have crossed the line already.
Yeah, I think she has. She was a lap back.
Yep.
So she's already got that victory in the AM class. So well done, Renee. Another win for her championship. It's been a very impressive start to her season. Big haul of championship points early on in the year makes it easier in the Evans driving angle.